Well, 7 o'clock, right? Meeting will come to order.
Let me get this started here. Okay, Ron.
Okay. Chair will entertain a motion for the minutes.
The move.
For a second,
A second.
all those in favor of accepting the minutes as presented in your email, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passed. Okay, so tonight's meeting, we have to do a couple things. One is we're going to elect officers, but we also asked Cynthia from the Northwest Conservation District to join us and try to give us a feel for what we have to do as a wetlands commission to meet the regulations that the state puts out, but also just to do a better job on what we're doing. So you've been involved with a number of other wetlands around the state. And if you could just give us a kind of an introduction of what your job is and then how you might be able to help us pull ourselves up by the bootstraps, I guess.
Okay, oh, thank you. I'm happy to, if you have a citizen who has an info on.
So we don't, no, there's no issues tonight. And the citizen here is our first selectman.
Oh, okay.
So Jesse Bunce just got elected.
Keep him waiting if he was waiting to be heard about.
No problem. Here to see you actually.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you. So, well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to come. Actually, I sort of invited myself, didn't I? Agreeing to have me come. My background is that I'm a soil and wetland scientist. I'm also an agronomist, but I don't really practice that as much. You know, I've been more concentrated in the soil science area, and I have been for 4 to 5 years. I was, just as by way of background, I'm a UConn grad. I worked for the Cooperative Extension Service for a few years after graduating as a county agricultural agent in New Haven County. And after that, I started my own consulting business doing inland wetland delineations and related work around that. I also have a background in horticulture, which I infused into my wetlands related work as it applied to or related to wetland restorations and mitigation, riparian buffers of wetlands and that sort of thing, helping clients to do what they were mandated to do by their town's wetlands commissions. So I have a kind of varied background there, but it's primarily focused on the inland wetlands field. So I've been with the Northwest Conservation District now since 2017, and my primary technical role is still inland wetlands. So I work with any wetlands commission. We have 34 towns. Some towns regularly call me in to review or advise about applications that they've received, help them understand certain things about the application. I can review wetland delineations that are done and come into you in applications for permits. If there's, I don't suggest that you ask for a wetland delineation review for every single application. But if you, as the commission, have some hesitation or feel a little bit insecure, perhaps maybe you do a sidewalk and you feel like the delineation doesn't look quite right to your eyes, you know, then certainly give me a call. I can go out and take a look and check the wetland line. And it's very seldom that I find anything egregious, but, you know, occasionally I might have a little bit of a concern, at which point I will invite the applicant soil scientist to meet me out there, and we'll discuss it and come to an agreement. And that would all be explained to you, obviously. At the time, anybody from your commission who would want to be out there at the same time, obviously that's totally fine. But, you know, my job is not to find fault with applications that are coming in. My role is to help you to feel secure that you're approving something that could be approved. So sometimes an application might need a little tweaking to bring it up to the standard where you can feel confident that you're making the right decision.
So when you do that service, how's it paid for?
The town of Canaan, all the towns in our district, well, all the towns in Connecticut are supposed to pay an annual sum to their conservation district. And so off the top of my head, I think North Canaan has paid, but I would have to check that. I know that there were some years that North Canaan didn't pay. I would still do some work for you because I don't want to penalize you. I would hope that if I continue to offer the services that we're here to offer, that would encourage your town to give us the stipend. And it's based on population. So, you know, some of our larger towns and cities are paying way more than you would as a small town.
Yeah.
I mean, some of our towns only pay a few $100s because it's sort of based on some sort of formula. You know, we can work with the town on that. It's really just, it's really not helping us keep our doors open a lot, but it's helping a little bit.
Yes.
As you may know, we're a non-profit. We're not a state agency. We do receive some funds through the Passport to Parks program in the state of Connecticut. But again, it's very helpful, but it's not enough for us to keep our doors open and the staff on the roster.
Yeah.
So we do rely on our towns to come up with the stipend that we request once a year. So that's one way. The other thing is for large applications that you might get, and I'm not sure that you in I'm not aware that you get applications often or at all for large developments.
I think the last one we had was when the Yale Farm was looking to do a golf course with beds up there. That was
Actually, the last one we had was the Honey Hill.
was where?
Honey Hill development.
Oh, Honey Hill was another one but that's gone now, I guess, anyway, but
Right.
yeah. But that was
very little. That's where the question of, we always call it a setback.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
in the meeting, it was questioned, well, you don't have any setback rate or any upland review regulations.
Mhm.
Well, state of Connecticut definition was exactly what our setback regulations are. Actually, we exceeded the recommended state of Connecticut upland review area, which was, I think at the time, 50 or 75 feet. We go to 100 feet.
Now, most towns
Are going to 100.
So there is, historically, we all called it a setback. But it really isn't a setback because it's not a mandated distance that are proposed.
It's a regulated area.
Yes, it's a regulated area. It is an upland review area. It isn't it isn't a hands-off area. It's an area that you can take more scrutiny. You can scrutinize that area more.
And we have leeway in there.
Yes, you do. You have leeway. You can ask for things. For example, I'll just give you a little bit of news that it's not anywhere near being legislated yet. But the state environmental committee has had a working group to review the riparian buffer topic. At the moment, there is no mandate for riparian buffers. You can ask for them and explain to applicants why they're important, but it's not in the law yet. So I was an alternate on this committee. The committee's pretty much wound up now. So I was in those meetings, and there was a lot. Every interest group was represented in the meetings. You know, from the agriculture community to foresters, the home builders, a lot of the environmental groups, lake and watershed groups. Everybody who had an interest in this topic was represented. So, you know, it was a very lengthy, drawn out process to get everybody on the same page. Anyway, now it's going back to the committee, the full environmental committee. This is going to be a long, drawn out process because there'll have to be official language drawn up. There'll have to be a public comment. You know how the legal, the legislative process works, I'm sure, with the state, at least a little bit. So, but I wanted to mention this to you because it does look as if in this legislation, which will be added into the state law, it will cover inland wetlands. We fought hard for that because most of the other people in the working group were focused only on open bodies of water like lakes and rivers, which certainly need riparian buffers as well. But I was actually fighting for the language to include inland wetlands, lakes, and rivers, because at the moment, there isn't anything in the state regs that gives you the opportunity or the right to insist on riparian buffers in some areas. So I just wanted to clue you in for that.
So that's separate than upland review.
That's upland, but except, and I actually had to explain this to the committee because people were thinking that riparian buffers were actually part of the wetlands, and riparian buffers are in the upland review area, right next to the wetland line. So it's upland, immediately adjacent to the wetland.
Right.
That's something we had to, Barry and I went for a walk on this development that was proposed. It's along the Houstonic River watercourse, which in turn falls into Houstonic River Commission. There was representatives from them there. There was representatives from the developer. There was representatives from all organizations. And what they had done, they went in before this was even proposed and did invasive species remediation. Well, most of the plant life along the riparian area, like you're talking about, is a invasive species. So they cut that all down. So Houstonic River Commission came in and said, well, you've cut all this vegetation. Now what are you going to do to plant back there? Well, so it's a double-edged sword as to, okay, we got rid of the invasives, but now you've got nothing. So that's what Barry and I walked along there, and that was everybody's main concern is what is going to hold this riverbank back.
Right. So in the future, once we get this legislation through, and it is going to be way off, I think, because it's a very slow process, but it will give you the right when, presumably that project came in for a wetlands permit, did it?
It did.
Okay, so
And
that, oh, sorry.
One of the things with the wetlands permit is we have our buffer along Houstonic River, which is that we've always gone 100 feet there, and there was two little spots of wetlands on their property. It was close to 100 acres, I think they were talking about, right? Yeah. It was a large portion of property. And we made them show where they were gonna set back from the two little spots of wetlands on there, and they were setting back, they were proposing a 300-foot setback from the river. But they had already done the remediation of the invasive species.
Invasive species.
So there, it was quite bare.
Mm.
Barry went along with the walk with me.
Right, right.
It was quite bare.
Right.
And we all know, we went there probably the worst time of the year. There was no green growth. It was fall, right?
Right.
And we all know they're all gonna come back.
Yeah.
But that's,
Well, they wanted to have the plantings and they wanted to have the fence around it because they felt like the animal might eat it before it had a chance to really
Right, so
settle
those
in.
management questions, those are legitimate procedures and how to manage that area to keep it free from invasives. That's an important issue. Planting native species back in there is what I always recommend. And commissions, by and large, in the Northwest corner, I can't speak about the rest of the state anymore, but by and large, the commissions that I work with are successfully requesting riparian buffers of native plants. And, you know, if it's a small project that, you know, where the landowner, the applicant, you know, a private person with home property, residential property, I mean, you know, these people don't always have professionals to help them, you know, landscape designers, etc., to help them figure out what the plants are that should be used and that sort of thing. That's where we can come in. That's where I can come in. I can help people. I can advise them with what kind of species to get, where to get them, native plants, that sort of thing. Because, you know, if you get in a big applicant, they usually come in with their engineers and their attorneys and, you know, their landscape architects and all of that. So you can request that they have their professionals come in with a plan. But for the average person coming into you, that, you know, it's burdensome to have them have to hire additional professionals for a project that they might want to do with their home. So
I would say that probably 95% of what we're dealing with are people that want to build a structure or they want to do something on their property. They have a wetlands and they're trying to figure out a way to fit it in. So it could be a driveway, it could be, but very, very little of our work is with these larger projects where they have to do really, you know, other things that are more expensive.
That's what I would assume. Well, let me just give you an example. I guess it was last year, kind of lose track of time. But anyway, I think it was probably last summer. I was asked to come out to Norfolk to look at a private property near one of the lakes there. Anyway, it doesn't matter where. But the people wanted to put up a kind of a barn. It wasn't for agriculture, it was more for woodworking or some sort of shop work that they wanted to do in a barn on it in particular. Unfortunately, they were getting a lot of drainage from so my brain has gone to sleep. Is it Loon Pond? Is that the name?
yeah, New Meadow.
Loon
Loon
Meadow.
Meadow, that's
Sure.
it. Yeah. So this property was not adjacent to Loon Meadow Pond. It was across the street and you know, some distance away, but you know, you get drainage off that lake, and they were right in the drainage pattern. And there was a lot of water coming onto their properties, and the wetland agent wanted some advice. So, you know, these were people that had been living on this property for a while. They wanted to do something to for their own purpose. It wasn't a commercial thing. And I had to say, you can't build your project here, but let's look around. And I spent a lot of time looking around, and I found a place that they could legitimately put up their barn that wasn't going to create more drainage problems for themselves or for somebody else downstream. So, that's the kind of thing that I can do as well. Because, we don't want to penalize any of us living on our properties if we can help, if I can help somebody do what they want to do in an appropriate way. So you could call me to ask me to go.
Are you an engineer?
Pardon?
Are you an engineer?
I'm not an engineer, I'm a soil and wetland scientist, but I read the landscape. I obviously dig in the soil and identify the wetlands, but after all these years of doing this, I can read the landscape, and that helps me also, figure out drainage patterns even in the dry season.
Almost any large project that comes before us, whether it be someone that's putting in, not in a wetland, but a large impervious surface, we take their print and we go to our engineering firm that's contracted WMC.
Yeah,
And
I've worked with them.
And that we pretty much base our ruling on their recommendations. Most of the time, any developer has been very cordial, and they said,
Yeah.
well, WMC, well, okay, we can tweak this or tweak that. A lot of it is drainage from the impervious surface, filtration before it gets even to the upland review area.
So that's another area that I work in. Commissions ask me to review engineering plans, which I can do. I can't do drainage calculations because I'm not trained for that.
One of the reasons we stay with WMC,
Exactly. They can do that sort of thing. That's their responsibility. But I can look at an engineering plan for you and give feedback. So for I won't say which town this was, but a town that I've been working with quite a bit the last few years. They had an application that came into them last year for a multi-housing project, it was more of an apartment kind of development, not individual houses. But unfortunately, it turned out that the engineer, I knew right away that he couldn't possibly be a civil engineer. And after several weeks of meetings and going back and forth, it turned out that he was an electrical engineer, but he had sold himself to the applicant, to the property owner, the developer, saying that he could do anything. I could tell as soon as I looked at the plans that he really didn't have a grasp.
But he had stamped it?
He had stamped it, but somehow it got through. But anyway, I advised the commissioner that because the drainage plan was poor, very poor, and I don't, I can't say this is what you have to do because I'm not an engineer. I can't do that, but I can say, I see a problem with this. Can you explain how the drainage is going to work? And then you have houses down below and you have the outflow go, you know what I mean? That sort of thing. I have to be careful. I can't pass myself off as an engineer, but I'm able to identify concerns with an engineering plan to the point that I can sometimes suggest more green infrastructure, because you're probably aware of the new state stormwater management guidelines that came out in 2024. You should have copies of that in your office here, no? No? Well, it's all online.
They may be grouped into the planning and zoning, which fortunately or unfortunately, I also chair.
Well, it may be, but it would be very helpful for your commission to have it, and necessary, not just helpful, because these are what the state standards are now. And most engineers know about it because there's been a fair amount of training.
What was that called again?
It's the state of Connecticut stormwater management guidelines.
So when we, as a commission, that comes out, the stormwater guidelines, but we aren't aware of it I have nothing that's come to me as a chairman that says, hey, we have new stormwater reg, regulations or whatever. So I have no idea that it's happened.
That's really interesting.
And so, what's
I'm
that?
sorry. That's
Well,
sorry.
so that's kind of where our issue lies, is that this commission has been kind of running on case
Common
by,
sense.
well, yeah, common sense, but also just by our own education as individuals. And we have not had a, a good relationship with anybody in the state that
Sure.
brings us up to speed on some of the things that we need
Yeah.
and should be doing.
Okay, well, so now that I know that, I will be sure to let you know of any new developments that come out from the state. But
That would be very helpful,
Yes.
because I think a lot of what we're striving to do now is, as the new officers of this group take over, I think we want to educate the people that are going to be part of this commission
right,
so that we are making good decisions.
okay. Well, I'm glad you let me know that. The manual is available online. I can send you a link to it so you don't have to search around on the deep website, which is a black hole sometimes.
Yeah.
I can send you a link to it. Actually, what we did, because they're not publishing it in hard copy form. At the district, Kelsey and I decided we printed it. We had a couple of copies printed. You know, it's a good thick manual, but because we're working with this stuff all the time, we needed hard copy.
Yeah.
And that's a manual just explaining what the commission's responsibilities are.
No, it's a manual. That's a different manual. This manual is really directed at the engineers, because the state is requiring now a lot more green infrastructure. Are you familiar with that term? What green infrastructure?
Yeah, it's water gardens, it's trees and plantings that absorb and filter water before it reaches it.
You're pretty close. Yeah,
we-
you're on the right track.
Once again, that's why we refer anything that we have a question about to WMC
Yeah,
to evaluate. They're up on that.
they're very good.
We're all,
I don't have any.
our commission here, we're all volunteers.
I-
None of us are soil scientists, none of us are engineers. As far as, once you get to the calculation side of it.
Yeah.
As far as stormwater discharge and how to manage that,
Right,
we go to someone more qualified than us.
of course.
And we generally base our ruling off their recommendation.
Right.
Yeah.
What this manual does is give many more protocols for dealing with stormwater management without what we used to call, or still call, pipe and dump. You know, pipe it and then dump it out somewhere else. That's been shown to have a lot of problems. And so now that we're trying to encourage engineers, and most engineers are up on this now, but commissions also need to know and need to be able to look at their applications that are coming in to see if there are these green structures. So not a pipe that just collects the runoff from the hard impervious surfaces and then just dumps it out to a storm drain in the street. That's really passé. What we're hoping for now is that engineers will put in bioswales. You know, you talked about this a little bit, you didn't use that term, but I knew that that's what you meant. Bioswales and rain gardens and other forms of infiltration to get the water back into the ground the way it would just from precipitation. So that's what that manual is about.
We had one, I'm not sure which direction we came in. We just had a health center built right across, almost across from the Stop and Shop. And part of their plan, they did have infiltrators underneath their parking lot.
Right.
So those were cleanable collection areas. The overflow from that went to a green
Like a swale.
swale garden. and
Right.
it was settling there. I'm not sure they even went into the upland review area. I think that was where they put it, right on the edge of it.
Mhm.
So they were settling in their infiltrators. Infiltrators, the overflow went to the rain garden,
Right.
and that was their outflow.
So that's the kind of thing that is really being pushed now, because it makes sense. You know, the water, when stormwater comes off of a hard surface, or even a lawn, or even, you know, a field to a certain extent, it's going to have a certain amount of pollution with it. And if it just goes into the storm drain, then that water is going directly to, you know, the streams and then rivers. But if it goes into these rain garden or other bioinfiltration systems, and the water is allowed to seep into the soil, you know, soil is like magic. It has, you know, all the microorganisms in it, and literally the stormwater is cleaned to a greater extent than it would be the old-fashioned way of just having it run off into the storm drain. So
We have very few projects come before us. I would say 80% of our town is residential agriculture,
right,
with no problem with buffer zones. It's when you have, mainly in the center of town or commercial properties, is
right,
where we end up with exactly what you're talking about.
right. And you know, there's not as much opportunity for you because it's a built out, but you may get a project in. But even with the existing commercial areas, if there's any kind of you know, building or additions or repairs or whatever retrofits that are going to have to come into you for permits, you could ask them to consider, to the best of their ability, what the options are. If, you know, maybe they don't have a lot of space if it's an already constructed site, but if it's a site, you know, like even the Stop and Shop parking lot, which is a, you know, huge paved area. If Stop and Shop wanted to come in for a permit to do something and they come to planning and zoning, for example, they may not need to come to wetlands, but they come to planning and zoning. And, you know, maybe they want to redo their parking lot in some way, or do some sort of earthwork.
Which right now, when that project was approved, there are already settling tanks, infrastructure to handle their impervious surface and their roof drainage. It was
Right.
done during that process.
Yeah,
There's large cement infiltrators underneath that parking.
but the infiltrators on, if they're the old, if they've been there a long time,
That is an old type, they're uncleanable, as far as I understand,
Yeah.
I remember. Christian plow over it.
I thought they were
don't think
giant plastic pipes, I remember.
They're
huge.
We just outflow
They're
to the
huge,
storm.
outflow,
Yeah.
there's settling, collection. They collect it, and there is obviously an overflow. Any of those have an overflow.
But if they were going to come in and request permission to do some work there, that would be the time to get them to think about putting in the green water infiltration system.
Mhm.
So, you know, there are opportunities that come up to retrofit.
My question is, what do most towns have? I mean, we're volunteers here on the
All
commission,
towns, commissions of all.
but do they usually have somebody that's paid in the town that's like a land use management,
Most-
somebody that's making sure that the
Most-
DEEP quarterly reports, every time you know, have some kind of action, you're supposed to report it to the DEP. Who usually does that? Is that somebody that
Yeah,
works for the town?
It's usually a staff person. And some towns, the smaller towns, often have somebody who's only there, you know, once a week or once every couple of weeks or something. it varies, and they work in several towns, they may work in 3 different towns part-time.
Is
They
that
work-
something that you think the town would be willing to support?
What they can, you can see what.
Well, I think that this commission has the desire to have it done correctly. And I think
What do you feel is lacking?
we're not getting our reporting done. That's supposed to be done for the state. It's just hasn't been getting done since Fred Ruggles.
I don't know if Fred did it.
That's why I'm just wondering what.
It's,
The quote.
it's not the quarter.
Of documenting what happened and submit it.
Yeah.
Like one of the secretaries already.
But she knows the report. You could explain the report.
They do. These people who work for the commission, either part-time or full-time, doesn't matter. So let's say you have somebody who's only there once a week. That's pretty much what we have in Bethlehem. They're there on a particular day every week, and that's the day that if a citizen wants to come in to get information about filing an application, they come during the posted hours, and that person will help them with the application, explain things. Otherwise, how are people in town getting that information? Do they have to wait for the monthly meeting?
They get it, we do have a zoning enforcement officer, we have a building department. The inland wetlands is part of the planning and zoning application. Sign off or ask them to come to a meeting before they have a sign off. Those applications are available at the selectman's office, they're available at the building office, and they're available at the planning and zoning enforcement officer's office.
But whenever there's a wetlands issue, George usually calls me to either okay it, that is, it's okay to do, or we ask them to come to a monthly meeting. So the only way they can do it if they're within the setback or the view area is they have to come to one of our monthly meetings, and they submit it to the whole commission, their explanation and whatever. So we have not had any of the inspectors okay anything that's not completely out of the wetlands. So it has to be completely out of the wetlands for us to sign
Out
off
of
on.
the wetland.
Upland
Upland review area.
Actually, that's,
Unless it's very cut and dry.
yeah.
I'm an inspector, Matthew is, and also Barry. We have the USGS wetlands maps.
Actually, you guys did these maps for us, I believe.
Yeah,
Mm.
they're actually pretty good, but we asked the person to identify their property. If there's any question, they come before this board. And if there's still any question, we ask them to have a soil scientist.
Right.
And at that point in time, we go step by step by step.
Right. So that's good.
But we don't have anybody looking. I mean, I'm sure we have people in town that will let us know if there's a problem, but we don't.
We don't actually
don't
go
have-
out and do inspections. The inspection is looking at the map with the applicant. And if there's anywhere near a purple, then they have to come to a meeting and we have to delineate wetlands at that point. But we don't physically go out and do any real inspections unless it's something, unique, like especially Minerals has got a pond that's flowing in through the town type of thing. But how many inspections do you actually go out and walk? Other than Honey Hill?
If we have conditions, we don't, that's something else. Someone that works for the town would make sure those conditions are met.
Are any conditions that we impose are on the zoning permit? So we rely on our zoning enforcement officer who he's not
The wetlands
an
commission,
engineer also.
the wetlands, conditions on the
It's
zoning.
attached to the plan, the zoning permit.
It is.
We are an entity of that. And that's where our inspection lies.
So they will check the wetland conditions when they do the inspection for the.
So that's the thing.
To a
Is,
certain amount. He's no more an expert than we are.
You're
yeah,
talking
So-
about George.
Yeah, so if we put a stipulation
Mhm.
that there needs to be wattles or silt fence installed until vegetation is grown, yeah, he does look at that.
He does.
okay,
Because it rolls into, once again, we are a check on a zoning permit.
okay.
So what about somebody who doesn't need a zoning permit, but just needs a wetlands?
Well, anytime there's a structure, but.
Yeah, I mean,
So
what
anytime there's a
action,
Building outward, even if it's like a generator, you need a zoning.
a wetlands permit, you do need one, you're supposed to come at least talk to us before any logging is done in or adjacent to wetland. We get those once or twice a year.
You have a set of regulations for
We
this
do.
commission though, right? Is
We
that
do.
online?
Yeah.
Will I be able- is
We're
that-
basically following the state regulations.
You've adopted the state regs
Correct.
pretty much verbatim.
Yeah.
Okay. And as
They
long
haven't-
as you're holding to those, what you're doing should be okay.
The state regs, state inland wetlands and watercourse regs have really not changed a lot since their inception.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
our town of North Canaan regulations were almost, like you said, verbatim from the state regulations. Certain things they expanded, our upland review area, setback, whatever you would like to call it. Our predecessors decided to go to 100 feet.
Many towns now have 100 feet from wetlands and 150 feet from watercourses.
Hmm. Now,
We don't have that, so.
now I believe that somehow in our regulations, our upland review description got missed. Okay, it just says that C, Appendix C, something like that. And then it just says upland review. There's no paragraph, there's nothing explaining it.
So I'm concerned listening to you because, well, let me ask a question first. I assume you have a town attorney.
Yeah.
And the town attorney has reviewed your regs and doesn't have any problem? Because I feel like from some of the comments that you've made, you might be leaving yourself open to some difficulty.
Our current,
Because,
our current town attorney hasn't,
and
They reviewed it?
no, he has reviewed it.
The last one that looked,
Predecessors and his predecessors
Oh.
probably maybe.
no, the only one that ever looked at it was Rawback. And that was a
No,
long,
that was, who was before Rawback? It was the lady, Dixon.
Lady.
Dixon, right?
Sure.
She did it. But
Our current.
it
town attorney-
wasn't, it wasn't polished at the end. It really wasn't polished at the end. It really needs a final look over.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's something you could do.
well, I'm not a lawyer.
You need a lawyer to do that.
Yeah, I do.
So.
I mean, I could look at them and I could say, you know, this might be. So one of the things that I'm concerned about is that if you just routinely go with your upland review area, which is 100 feet, and you don't allow any construction or changes within that, that's really not what the state regulations say, because it's not really a hands-off area.
Well, this exactly what you're saying.
Okay.
So, for instance, someone wants to put a driveway in where they want to put their home. Their home is 100% out of any setback, out of a wetland. Their driveway,
Has to cross the.
most of it is outside of it. But to get there, they had to veer into it a little bit and come back. We've always thought of it as, that's that gray area, that upland review setback is the gray area. We have leeway there. So, you know,
Okay.
if they need to bend into it for
Yeah.
20 feet, we've always been pretty lenient, you know. You're not paving it, you're gonna put gravel in there.
Right.
You're not going any farther than you have to. We're not trying to stop.
So that's what I was concerned
Yeah,
about, because
Don't worry,
you know,
we're not,
you could get yourself an irate, property owner. But it sounds like, because that upland review area is definitely not a hands-off area. So yeah, it sounds like you're.
we have a project on the table right now.
Mhm.
It has been approved by this commission and the planning and zoning. Across from the Stop Shop, once again, that's through our town plan of development. This is a direction we want to continue going.
Yeah.
It's basically been a hole for my entire lifetime, and I think everyone's here. It does abut a wetland.
Okay.
It does abut the alluvial floodplain area along the Blackfoot River. They had it engineered for their impervious surface and their roof runoff. We allowed them leeway into the upland review area for their discharge, which are discharging into a rain garden / settling area.
Good idea.
We just had one 2 months ago, right up here. They have a building now. They want to extend their building. I think they were only adding, what, 25 square of impervious area? And we didn't want them discharging directly, what you talked about earlier, directly into a state of Connecticut drain pipe. So can you stop short of it and and between because everybody talks about sheet runoff now, you know, what are you gonna do between your sheet runoff and your wetland? They actually put a swale with wetlands plants for filtration. And everybody's been pretty accepting.
Nice, sounds good.
So, yeah, we're not, you can't do anything there. It's a regulated area, not a wetland.
So if I could just back up slightly to the topic of having a staff person. It sounds like what you're doing is okay and it's working for you, and perhaps you don't need a separate staff person, since you probably don't get a lot of applications all the time, and the planning and zoning people can handle it. So I don't see any problem with that as long as it's working for you. But if you feel burdened in some way, you mentioned the reporting to the state, which, I don't expect it is overly burdensome, but you're all busy people, and it's just one more thing you have to do or not do, as the case may be. Maybe there's somebody else in town already in the town hall, a clerical person who might be able to pick that up. Or if not, maybe find somebody for a couple of hours a month to, I don't know, whatever.
I think for the moment, what we really want is to know what it is that we haven't been doing that we should be doing, and to understand what the state regs are for the commission, whether it be the secretary or what the chairman. We just want to make sure that we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's, so that the commission doesn't end up not doing what is required. So I think the first thing we need to know is what is required before we say, okay, we need a staff person. First, we need to know what the job is. And that's what's been a little unclear. We haven't had direction from our town or from the state to us. Well, so that's where we're kind of stumbling here, is we just don't know what we don't know.
Maybe I can put together you know, like an info packet.
That would be very helpful.
Yeah.
So one thing I was looking into maybe too, and I think you can tell me if it's a good idea or not, maybe get a land use attorney to handle zoning and maybe help with wetlands a little bit, step away from our town attorney.
Well, I
For
think
these
that's a
two
very
boards.
good idea. Because, I mean, I don't know your town, I'm not gonna say you should, because obviously you're, it's.
Well, I
it's
mean,
tax dollars.
it seems like the one board that gets sued the most is gonna be something. You know, if there's gonna be a lawsuit or something like that, that's what.
Does the state of Connecticut, on the planning and zoning side, they require we go to, guess you could tell us how many hours every 2 years?
It's every 4 hours for 4 years is the,
So, is there any requirement existing for inland wetlands and watercourse?
There is a training, an online training. That's,
Is it active?
yeah,
'Cause last time I looked into it, it was not active at all.
when was that?
It was a year ago.
Really, because I actually, about a year, it was November. Well, no, it's probably December of 24.
I think it's when I did my,
Because I wanted to,
aquifer protection training. I also
Okay.
checked the rest of the state of Connecticut website, to see if there were, what other online training certificates there
so the
were.
inland wetland training,
It was not active.
really?
Hmm.
Did you send them an email? Because I think I had a little trouble with it at first, and they referred me to, it's run by Yukon now. It's not actually administered by BEEP anymore. They, you know, there's an office in.
I think the aquifer protection was also.
Huh?
I think the aquifer protection was also.
Yeah, probably.
our land use course that we went to
Yeah,
as well.
but I did it because it had been a long time, years and years, and I wanted to see what they were offering to the commission so that I could know. So I was able to get on and do it.
Just on the land use attorney. When you say land use attorney, that directly relates to wetlands, right? I mean, they'd be able to look over our regulations and
Yeah,
because sometimes the town attorney isn't really that familiar with
Exactly.
The
wetlands.
general counsel, that's why I
exactly.
started to look into maybe doing that, and I have.
I think that
About it.
that could really be a benefit, that we have somebody, a professional, looking through what we have and to see what needs changes.
Yeah.
That's a real good idea.
Because it's possible that your regulations may need to be updated.
Yeah, it's been, we updated it. Now it's like 2018.
Well,
Been quite a few years.
there's very little that when we did individually go through it and brought our concerns to the rest of the board. There wasn't a lot. Like I say, they pretty much mirror state of Connecticut regulations.
You know, some towns want to exceed the state regulations, especially, in towns that are getting heavy development pressure. That's when they start altering the regs usually.
Yeah, we haven't had a lot of.
As far as the online education, can you just, I mean, how many hours is that to go through it?
I
And
don't remember off the top of my head, but it's not onerous at all.
Is it a required thing or is
Actually,
it a?
only one person on a commission is required. A commission is required to have one person who's taken it, which everybody I speak to in the profession and in the world of wetlands says that's ridiculous.
It's beneficial to all, but the legality of it is one person,
Yes.
it's
presumably the
required.
chair.
Well, maybe I think it probably varies. I mean, I think the chair definitely is. I mean, it's not a difficult thing to do. You just, read these modules and then they give you a little quiz, which is, they're very easy, but it's helpful.
Yeah,
I think
it goes through what you would need to do if you had to have a town meeting, public hearings and all that kind of stuff.
yes,
What you and
all of
Matthew
that.
did doesn't encompass that?
No, it did. There was some education to it, but it's not something that was, I mean, these courses, yeah, I think these courses that you're talking about they're very, it's a regimented course that tells you everything you need.
Well, it's supposed to snow Sunday, so I'll definitely look.
There you go.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I think what I'd like to see done is if you can give us, the
Outline.
outline, and you can send that to me, I'll get it to the rest of the crew. And you're gonna talk to, your guys are working on something with land use,
We are.
and so you'll keep us up to that speed on that.
Yep.
I mean, I think it's the beginning of what we need to do.
I think so too. Just that land use attorney, I think, is gonna make me a lot more comfortable in this commission.
And we probably really should, we haven't looked at them since two
Yeah,
thousand eight.
and they could update our regs, they could update the application and that type of
So
thing.
let's throw out there before the next meeting.
What's that?
Let's throw out there before the next meeting. All our members, just review them. You all have copies of them.
Yep.
So just review them, and anything that jumps out at you as questions or things you think should be updated or made broader, that's for discussion that we can have.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely something that's got to get on the agenda, and we should be doing that. And I think we all should be looking at them occasionally anyhow, because you forget,
Right.
especially old people.
Yeah. Talk
Yeah.
about it. There's one last thing that I wanted to just let you know that I'm available for if it should come up. So if you have any kind of a decent sized development, often a town will ask me to do the weekly, bi-weekly, whatever it is, inspections during the construction to make sure that the developer and contractors are complying with the permits. And it's mainly for erosion and stormwater management. So to make sure that they're putting those structures in properly, that they're maintaining them during construction, that there isn't any erosion during construction that's getting into the stream. So, that's what I do. I go out again. It's sometimes at the beginning of a project, it's weekly, and then as the project gets a little bit more stable, we extend it. And this is covered. That service is paid for by the developer. So
That's what I was gonna ask. Is there a structured payment? Because normally on the planning and zoning side in this, any review is paid for by the applicant.
by third party.
By third party.
But you have to have third party review adopted in your
Mm,
it
regulations,
is.
Mm.
in your wetlands
It
regulations.
is.
Okay, in that case, yes. And, developers know this. They're not going to quibble because, they're working in different towns. They know they have to do this.
Mm.
But, you can hire an engineer to do it if you want. And that's fine. But just so you know, I do that.
Okay.
And so does Kelsey. And actually, so does Annette. We're all, they're certified stormwater management.
Okay.
Stormwater quality. I can't remember the acronym now. Yeah.
Do you still do the map work?
My truck would have started.
I think I called, yeah.
We don't do it anymore. We weren't getting enough call for it,
Oh.
and the map printer that we had
Mm.
broke down,
Mhm.
and because HVA can do the maps.
Oh, they
And
can't.
also, I don't know, are you in,
Did they do ours or did HVA do ours?
No,
No,
they
they
did ours.
Did ours, didn't he? Tim Abbott through HVA?
No,
Not
this
this
was done by the district.
yeah, I think yours, the original ones were done by.
I think it was Chris or somebody.
Well, he's done quite a few.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
many overlays in this town.
Oh, yeah. I know.
We've got overlays on top of
Cogs
overlays.
will do them as well. I don't know about, which cog are you in? Are you in Northwest Connecticut?
Yep.
Cog?
Yeah.
That's kind of-
So I believe that they will do it. They will do them. I know that the Novotek Valley cog, which covers some of our towns in the lower part of the district, like Bethlehem, for example, and I think there's quite a few others. They do maps. And I don't believe there's any charge for them.
Oh, really?
And I also think any
You can
revisions to our regulations would have to be reviewed by COG. So I know on the planning and zoning side, any revision we do or anything we put in there
Yeah,
has to be reviewed by Northwest COG before even a public hearing.
really.
What is COG? What does COG stand for?
Council of Governments.
So they're
Every
actually
town in our
illegal.
region belongs to it. And our selectmen, I think once a month, you
Yeah.
First Thursday of the month.
down in Litchfield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, advance.
they have a little breakfast meeting, they all eat donuts and drink
And
coffee.
they would
Most of them
update a
are-
map or
Ones that aren't-
print a map.
I can't say for sure, but I know that the Novotok Valley Cog does it.
Yeah.
So I would assume the other cogs do.
Maybe you could check
But
Yeah,
it
if they do that.
definitely does it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Vista does do it. I can talk to her.
Okay, the wetland map.
Yep.
Because even if you take the wetland eliminations and put it on a newer, because over the
Update
years
the
it
map.
changed. Yeah, just
The map.
right.
So, these maps, like the ones you've been working from, they're really a very useful tool, but they don't take the place of an on-site wetland delineation. It's good information for you, but it's not precise like an on-site survey, which is then a survey will go in and pick the flags up and put the precise boundary
Right.
on a property map. Because this is at a much bigger scale.
Mhm.
But I mean, it's definitely informational, and you have to have
Well, it gives us a place to start.
exactly.
That's usually where we go to requiring a soil scientist.
I was just going to say, I'm tooting the horn of my profession. So I don't do any private delineations. So, if you have a client come in here, not a client, an applicant come in and you want them to get a delineation, you can't refer them to me because I don't do any private. I only do it for the municipalities now. And more.
One of the main reasons that we've always relied on having the applicant hire a soil scientist because it keeps money out of our hands. I mean, we're assuming that the soil scientist is being honest. If they're stamping it, they better be, because that takes liability off of us, puts it on them.
That's right. And the only way that you could find out if they weren't
Third
doing
party
it on
review.
is to have me go and take a look at it. But you don't have to do that with every application. That would be ridiculous. You'll know if you need second opinion, right? Because I mean, you've been doing this. I'm sure you can see mostly where the wetlands are. I mean, it isn't rocket science, but it does get a little bit hairy sometimes, nailing it down because, when you're delineating it for a client, you want to get it as close as possible. But, the soil is changing slowly. Sometimes there's a hard and fast line if there's an extreme change in topography. But if you have an open field or a forest even that's gently sloping, that line, you get two soil scientists out there and, we can be a little bit, it's not a hard science.
Really varying a couple feet,
I could,
because the soils,
and then we argue.
the soils really aren't changing that drastically.
Well, where the
Unless you have-
wetlands,
Unless you have a river that's finding its own path.
Well, you know what, next spring or summer, let's have a field day and I'll have a field day. Show you. Our soils,
They have those awful beavers.
I was just gonna say, the beavers changed a lot.
yeah, they do.
so we got to do election of officers, and I just want to make sure we have everything. Any other questions that you guys have on what you think this direction this commission can go in and how we can do it better, I guess.
I think with the attorney coming in that can really review everything, make
Okay.
any necessary changes, and can even advise us on what we might be missing too.
All right, so the charge for next meeting is going to be, I'm gonna get some information from Cynthia that I'll send out to the rest of you. If we can all look at the regs with any comments that we have for next meeting or get started on that. And we'll hear from you about the attorney and what.
We could be working through it. It may not happen until our budget's changes.
But that's the direction we want to go in.
Right now.
Well, we're a month or two out. We want to review it ourselves before we send.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
When do you plan on hiring this attorney? Or that's, I mean, do you have any idea of?
well, we'll be working through the budget and then we would hire him probably in July.
You have
Oh, in the
somebody
summer.
around?
There's a couple names on right now that I could run by you to see if you cross paths.
I probably wouldn't comment one way or the other unless I felt very strongly.
All right, so we're gonna move on to election of officers.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the chair will open up nominations for chair.
I moved the same slate.
Nope.
I'll second, same slide.
Nominate Barry Brown for chairman.
Okay, bye.
Is there a second?
Adios.
Take care.
All right, so we have a nomination of Barry Brown for chair. Any other nominations?
I nominate him for secretary.
Once we get the chair done.
Oh, okay.
If not, we'll seat vote. All those in favor of Barry Brown for chair for next year, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Did that.
Motion's passed. Chair will open up nominations for, is there a vice chair? Are you a vice chair?
I am, and we've always had a vice chair.
Okay, so nominations for vice chair.
Nominate Eric Woody,
Mm.
vice chair.
Any other nominations?
I nominate Mike as well.
Mike and Eric are on. Any other nominations? We'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of Eric, say aye.
Aye.
Two. All those in favor of Mike, say aye.
Aye.
One. All right, so Eric, you're vice chair.
Got enough on my plate.
You do.
So now we have secretary. Nominations for secretary?
Nominate
Matthew.
Matthew Brown.
Nope. Nope, not gonna happen.
Mike
You
O'Connor.
don't want him to be secretary.
Listen, I have enough on my plate with my other board.
Bobby,
Chris Crane.
is there a second? Chris, good. All those in favor of Chris, say aye.
Aye.
Chris, congratulations. All right, so we have Eric, vice chair, Barry, chair, and Chris is secretary. That's it for election of officers. And sign offs. What do you got for sign offs there? Ah,
The retirement
Mike-
coming on has been good for me.
You're retiring, huh?
No, the retired people
Oh,
have been good for me. I haven't had a lot of calls at all.
I haven't had money.
let's see. Here we go.
Was that me?
What is that?
Generation
Generator
pet-
pad.
But I didn't sign that. George Martin signed that. So that was
Where's that?
36 Old Turnpike Road. Glacier.
I did see George and told him to describe things a little better. I don't know if you can read that one.
Propane tank for Jesse Bunce.
Oh,
Did the, looks like Jesse Bunce, yeah, 700 West Main, 70 West Main.
Yeah, that was not applicable, I don't believe. No.
All right, so that was propane tank and a generator.
And this one here. Change from one family to two family.
That was,
East Canaan Road.
I gotta take off. We got, all right. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah. Thanks for one family, two family, it'd be East Canaan Road. It's,
Your address on that?
Wells Fitzgerald is named the applicant. And
Oh, no. There's two minutes before. Plenty of zoning. One is in East Canaan, Dave Donati's old store where Stewart lived there. That's Carol used to go.
well, that's not this one.
This one is Patty Lane.
You know, he's got a
Yeah, this
mailing address.
This is Patty Lane.
Okay, so Patty Lane, that's done. That's not applicable. George signed that.
All right.
Applying to modify liquor license to allow for live entertainment.
That has something to do.
Canaan Country Club
74
has
High
nothing to do
Street.
with us, all inside the existing structure.
So why are we getting this on
Because
us?
George, because there's a line for us, and if it's not applicable, he signs off on it.
All right.
Panel letter sign with LED lighting.
That's not applicable to us. I think you need new glasses. These cheaters aren't really doing the job for you.
You wanna double them up?
Modular new construction. Modular new construction.
It's the address.
5 Mountain View Lane.
Not applicable. There's no wetlands there, that's.
All
That's
right.
it.
That's it. Meeting room, will be entertain the motion to adjourn. There's a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Adjourned at 8:14. No, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13.